After being postponed twice due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Rwanda is finally hosting the Commonwealth Heads of State and Government meeting CHOGM in Kigali this week from June 20th to 26th. We'll now be joined by our correspondent Laila Johnson-Salami live from Kigali for updates on this year's meeting. Great to have you, Laila, out there in the beautiful city of Kigali. Give us a lowdown of what's happening with CHOGM.
It's great to be with you too, Rufai, Tundu and Dr. Abati. Good morning to you all. So today is officially the third day of CHOGM 2022. Rufai, as you rightfully pointed out, this has been an event that's now been postponed for 2 years. Initially, it was supposed to take place in 2020, but because of the pandemic, it was postponed twice. Now it's taking place in Kigali, and there are so many activities going on this week. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to lead Nigeria's delegation. He is arriving in Kigali today. Tomorrow, he will be giving a speech at a high-level summit on malaria and neglected tropical diseases. And that's one of many activities that he's going to be getting up to while he's here. He's also going to be involved in bilateral meetings, looking for more investments for Nigeria. So we'll wait to see what comes out of it on the Nigeria front. As of today, several activities going on. This morning, there was a breakfast ministerial meeting on climate change that was attended by heads of government, foreign ministers, environment ministers, and other key stakeholders. And as we speak right now, the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group meeting is currently ongoing. Now, this is quite interesting because the CMAG meets every 2 years to discuss Commonwealth violations, or rather violations against Commonwealth beliefs and values. Now, over the past few weeks and months, there have been several calls from human rights organizations like the Human Rights Watch regarding human rights abuses in Rwanda. So it's going to be quite interesting to see the outcome of this meeting later on today. I believe it's going to be over at 1 p.m. Rwandan time, which is about 12 p.m. Nigerian time and BST. Later on today, there is also going to be a Commonwealth Ministers meeting on small states. And I must also state that today is the second day of the Business Forum. Now, the Business Forum is being hosted, co-hosted rather, by not just the Commonwealth, but also the Rwandan government. Yesterday, President Paul Kagame gave the opening speech. He spoke about how the Commonwealth needs to be common for all. We also saw the President of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, present on the panel there. And many more activities are ongoing today. So for the rest of the week, we're going to have several summits regarding dealing with a post-COVID world, dealing with issues around poverty as well, and development, sustainable development, and of course climate change. But it's interesting because this happens every 2 years, even though we've had a gap between the last CHOGM and this one. However, there are several questions with regards, of course, to the relevance of the Commonwealth as a body and what it really stands for today. As we know, the Commonwealth is not necessarily treaty-based, so a lot of what comes out of the decisions that is made is based on soft power. There's no real enforcement that has to be adhered to by nation states or party states. So that can be seen in the way in which this week's agenda has been set up. Instead of having a clear agenda, there are loads of forums that don't really have, it can be argued, don't really have a set agenda of what they're trying to achieve. But on Friday, we are going to be we're going to be present at the official opening of CHOGM 2022, and there will be several high-level meetings taking place on Friday and on Saturday too. Now, between Friday and Saturday, that's when heads of governments are going to be meeting with one another to really try and bring decisions and outcomes out of CHOGM 2022. And as we know, this is being hosted in Africa. So the hope for Africa is that CHOGM this year is also going to be more Africa-focused. There are several issues that we are dealing with, from the food crisis on the continent that has just been exacerbated by the war between Russia and Ukraine. And these are all issues that are going to be on the table this week. So back to you, Rufai. Several things happening here in Kigali. And I must also add, this is a very, very beautiful city.
Well, let me ask you, you spoke about President Buhari earlier on being expected at CHOGM. Well, but beyond the main issues, one, you talked about human rights, and that was a major concern with many commentators saying that, look, this looks like an endorsement of President of Rwanda, and that, look, it looks like the dictator that, is loved by the by the West. And then some Western commentators retorting that, look, those who are complaining are guilty of hypocrisy. Well, have there been any, activity from some of those human rights groups complaining, like carrying placards or protesting? And then are there security concerns? Because another issue is that Rwanda is supporting rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the border is just about 100 kilometers away. Is there any concern about security? And then, of course, the main issue,
Thanks.
Commonwealth Youth Council. Do you have the participation already of a lot of young people from the 54 Commonwealth countries?
Thanks, Dr. Abati. Thanks for bringing this up. Let me start with the security situation. On Monday, the EAC, that's the East African Community made up of Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and 2 other countries, they had a meeting to discuss what's currently going on at the border of the DRC and Rwanda. Now, both countries have accused each other of cross-border shelling, and there have been several accusations. The DRC have come out to accuse Rwanda of supporting the M23, which is the rebel group that are over there, but Rwanda have repeatedly denied these allegations and accusations. Now, they had a meeting on Monday. The EAC leaders had a meeting on Monday, and although we know that the only outcome that we know so far from that meeting is that troops are going to be deployed to the DRC to help to ease out the situation. However, we do not know if that includes Rwandan troops as well, because as we know, there's still so much hostility between the 2 countries, including shut borders, etc. So we don't know if that's going to include Rwandan troops. The DRC had made it clear prior to Monday that they didn't want Rwanda involved in that, so we'll have to wait and see. But within the city of Kigali right now, everything is completely safe. There are security members all over the city, and Things seem to be going well. There don't seem to be many security risks or threats around CHOGM, absolutely not. But onto your point, Dr. Abati, as well, about the controversial policy between the UK and Rwanda, a policy that was going to see Rwanda getting £120 million a year in funding from the UK to take in asylum seekers to Rwanda for processing and then to get asylum here. Now, as we know, the European Court of Human Rights managed to block that at the last minute, and that didn't go through, and now the situation is in court. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, is of course in Kigali this week, so he is not going to be able to avoid scrutiny on this issue, nor is President Paul Kagame. However, it must be noted as well that there were reports that Prince Charles, and just to note, Prince Charles and Princess Camilla are here. They got into Kigali last night. There are reports that Prince Charles really does not agree with the Conservative Party's controversial asylum policy. So we'll have to wait and see how things play out with regards to that. But no, so far I haven't seen any placards around or any protests going on, although there have been reports that we should expect this to come in the coming days. So we'll have to wait and see. But with regards to the security situation, everything does feel completely fine and safe. They have done a very good job in putting this together. And it's a good opportunity for Rwanda. They've been looking forward to showcasing Kigali to the world for quite a while. And now you have 5,000 delegates from 54 countries right here in this city, in this very tiny country that you can hardly see on the map of Africa. And it's great for Rwanda. By next year, they are supposed to become East Africa's fastest growing economy. So they currently have a lot to offer and they want to show that to the world. But of course, the dark side of all of this is the human rights violations and looking into all of that. So we'll have to wait and see how this is addressed by President Paul Kagame this week. However, the Commonwealth, as we know, support Rwanda, who joined the Commonwealth in 2009. So even the CMAG meeting that's currently going on that I mentioned at the start of this crossover, even the CMAG meeting will give us a better idea of what to expect in terms of Rwanda's role in the Commonwealth. Don't forget as well that President Paul Kagame is set to take over from Boris Johnson as the chair in office of the Commonwealth for the next 2 years at the end of this week. So he is going to be right at the helm of affairs of everything to do with the Commonwealth. So the concerns that human rights groups and organizations have clearly are valid, but it must also be noted that it's very clear that Rwanda are completely invested in the Commonwealth too. So it's going to be hard to see a situation playing out whereby Rwanda's human rights violations are put right at the forefront of CHOGM this year. But we may expect some protests to happen around that.
It seems like we'll get that as long as it doesn't overshadow the entire summit. But my question for you, Laila, very briefly, the State House press release from President Muhammadu Buhari specifically mentioned post-COVID-19 economic recovery and trade. What do we know about that with regards to the Commonwealth? Of what practical benefit is this Commonwealth membership to Nigeria economically?
Thanks, Tundu, and that's a great question. You know, the Commonwealth states that trade between Commonwealth parties is 19% lower than it is if you're trading with countries outside of the Commonwealth. However, that has been hard for anyone to independently verify. And the key question is, what are the true benefits of the Commonwealth to countries like Nigeria today? And it all comes back to soft power and that diplomatic look on the international stage. The Commonwealth isn't an organization like the United Nations or even a CITES, whereby these are treaty-based organizations with policies that members must follow. It's more about warm words and exchanging ideas. Now, the other issue that we have is the more developed countries in the Commonwealth, like the UK and Canada, they're more interested in the trade side and the good governance side of things, whereas the recovering countries like Nigeria, the small islands, coastal nations, we are countries that are more interested in equality, tackling poverty, sustainable development. So because there's no clear agenda of where everything fits, what you find is that with the Commonwealth, we get loads of warm words, but the results are hard to see. So one thing that I am certain that I'm going to do if I do when I do see members of the Nigerian delegation is to really find out what they are hoping to achieve and what they're hoping to get out of CHOGM this year, because that is a key question and one that everyone wants answers to. As we know, of course, this is a huge opportunity for networking. So there's a lot of investment opportunities for Nigeria and other nations just by being here and being present at CHOGM 22. But in terms of hardcore policies, it's really hard to see what may come out of that. But we will have a better idea on Saturday, and that's after the heads of government have finished their retreat and all of their closed-door meetings, and then we find out more with regards to any policies that may come out of this, even though, again, soft power, warm words.
Well, great work. Thank you very much, Laila Johnson-Salami. Thank you very much indeed.